to stay. I'm here to stay.
Well, if ever we needed an early Christmas present, then surely today is the day. 3 points will go a long way towards giving us a little bit of Christmas spirit just before the festive season. But it will not be easy, because today we face one of the in-form sides in League One. Yes, Joey Barton's Bristol Rovers are in SE7 this afternoon. And in the last 10 rounds of league matches, only Ipswich have picked up more points. On their last visit to the Valley in March 2021, they raced into a 2-goal lead, only for the Addicts to roar back and claim all 3 points. Barton's boys were relegated 2 months later, but they made an instant return to League One this summer and have started this campaign very well indeed. Lots coming up ahead of kick-off here on Charlton TV. We'll hear exclusively from interim manager Anthony Hayes, who spoke to me pitch side a little earlier. I've got 2 Charlton stalwarts with me this afternoon, and we'll be looking back at the club's 30 years back at the Valley celebrations from a fortnight ago. And we'll also hear from utility man Sean Clare, who spoke to Terry Smith, or should I say spoke to myself a little earlier this afternoon as well. Well, delighted to have Curbs alongside me as always this afternoon, although we nearly didn't. We'll come on to that in just a second. We'll also have another of the club's back at the Valley heroes with us.
One challenge, it's bouncing for Nelson, he scores! Garry Nelson puts Charlton in front.
Nelson's onside, he's being pushed, the referee is playing play on. Nelson's round, he's there! That was well played, well seen.
And that's a lovely first time ball from Colin Walsh out towards the right flank. Nelson cutting in, Garry Nelson on his left foot with a chance. Oh, fine goal. Leeburn running clear of the county defence. He's picked out Garry Nelson, 3-1. Penalty area, Leeburn's up there, chance now for Nelson, oh, fine goal! Garry Nelson on the volley with his 14th of the season.
It is a warm welcome, of course, to Garry Nelson. Nels, how are you? I'm loving the waistcoat there as well, very festive.
You mentioned about Christmas cheer, so I thought I'd try and bring a bit of Christmas cheer into the studio.
You have done already, and you will do for the rest of the afternoon, I'm sure. But Curbs, I've got to start with you.
Yeah.
You missed our all-day on Thursday.
I know.
How are you feeling?
A little bit better. I was rough. I mean, I must have been rough not to come out with the boys.
I know, we all knew that as well.
I know, and they kept sending me pictures, and it was getting worse and worse. I was stuck indoors on my own as well. I couldn't get out, even if I wanted to, but no, I could have made it. So.
He said kept sending the pictures. He said keep sending us pictures, will you? I want to know, he wanted to feel part of it, even though he couldn't be there.
If he was asking for the pictures. Was Brownie getting any smarter as the day went on or not?
Brownie would look like he was happy. Was he?
He was happy.
Oh, right, okay.
He is sometimes happy. He is sometimes happy.
He won't get no stick.
Just when we don't talk about football. Look, I mean, obviously we're frozen out last week at Morecambe. The snow's coming. We'll come onto the pitch in just a second. But how's your week been? I suppose you've been in bed the whole time, but you've made any snowmen with the grandkids or snowball fighting?
No. We've just back from a week celebrating the wife's very big birthday, so that was lovely. And then pretty much work all week, so I'm watching a bit of football here and there. Had a bit of football training Wednesday in the cold.
Did you? How was that?
Yeah, it was good.
Is that ready for the World Cup, the next one?
The next England game, next England over 60s game. Mate.
When's that?
We're going out to Denmark for a couple of games in Copenhagen, so yeah.
Brilliant.
You ain't over 60 yet, are you?
I'm not, I'm over 50.
Oh, we could get that. It's over 50s team.
Is that?
Oh, right.
Get you in the team.
I'll be in the
well,
over 60s.
Over 65s, there's an over 65.
Is there?
There's one every year once you get over 65.
I'm getting in all sorts of categories at the moment.
The squad gets smaller each year, though, that's the only problem.
What about Christmas shopping? Have we done our Christmas shopping? You won't do any. Carol does it all for you.
Yeah, Carol does it. Carol does it, and she was out yesterday. Out all day Thursday as well. That's why I was
She
in.
was?
Yeah, that's why I was in on my own.
She joined us for a couple of drinks. Great company.
I know. She asked where you were, actually.
Look, I mean, before we get to Ben's departure, you were both here at the Charlton game, as I was as well. It was poor. And we'll come to the Stockport game a little bit later on as well. But where do we need to get better today, Curbs? And, we've only got 40 minutes before kick-off.
Well, we've got to win a game, haven't we? By hook or by crook, you've got to win a game. And, we've been talking, me and Nels, about the atmosphere at the Valley at the moment. The last month or so, really, has been really, really flat. The turnout, I think, for the Charlton game, it was a cold night and etc. And again today, fans are finding it difficult to get here because of the rail strike, how cold it is, the way the team's playing. it's a perfect storm at the moment for the club, and we need to turn that around. And there's only one way: the team producing some results, getting the fan base back on side, and the fans coming in with a bit of optimism. I don't think the fans are coming in with any optimism. I said to you the last time we done the team, I can't remember the last time they really sang. Really sang. I think when Ipswich was here, and they sold that end out, and we had a fantastic turnaround, and that coincided with Ben getting sent off, and then he give it to the crowd a little bit. And you know the players need the crowd. I know the other way round, the players have got to give the crowd a lift, but at the moment the players need the crowd, and whoever comes in here today, I hope gets behind them.
Let's talk about it. I want both your opinions then on Ben's departure.
Well, it sounds premature, feels premature to me. I mean, you bring the guy in and you give him the opportunity, a good track record at Swindon, but yeah, you know, there seems to be an awful lot of discontent around the club at the moment, which is difficult. And ultimately, it's a results game, and the results haven't been there. And the expectation for Charlton is high. I think that really started to gather some pace when we had those 3 wins in the middle of October.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at, right, let's build some momentum from here. And it's kind of, last 2 months have been, as Alan said, kind of really flat. It's been quite a bitty part of the season. You've got Papa John's Trophy games, you've got FA Cup games, early rounds. You've only had 5 league games, I think, since that spell. And 2 points from 15, so that in itself speaks volumes. But you know, as Al says, when you see the volume of the crowd, it just generally seems to be a bit of disenchantment around at the moment, and I think that's reflecting in the fans. You know, you feel for Ben to a certain extent, but you know that happens not just at Charlton, but at lots of clubs. It seems to be you get a few bad results and you're on your way. There doesn't seem to be that continuity or consistency.
I know, but you know, you've got to speak to the chairman to ask when he made that decision. Was it after the Cheltenham game? Was it because of the Cheltenham game, or was it because of the form leading up to?
I think it was more to than just one game, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, the dark arts of football, you tend to think that if you're going to sack your manager, you get someone lined up, you know, within reason. And, you know, if you're going to sack a manager, then the new one comes in. So unless they've fell short in their targets, because they've had a couple of weeks now, you know, and Ben's in charge, and, you know, will he be in charge for another couple of weeks until they get the man they're looking for? Only the chairman can answer them questions.
So that tells you then that he just had enough of Ben without even thinking at this moment in time, whatever happens with Ben in charge, it's going to go backwards.
Yeah, listen, some chairmen think that let's make a change. It may just give the players a lift, and we might pick up a couple of results and give us a bit of breathing space before we get something to come in. But obviously, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but no one's come in, and there's no names being mentioned, unless we're trying to prize someone out of a job, which is a totally different game.
That's going to cost money as well.
That's going to cost money, but so letting Ben go costs money. So, you know, we've been talking a lot. We were 7 points off the playoffs and 7 points off the bottom 4. Well, now we're 4 points off the bottom 4. I still tend to look at it that we're 7 points off of that playoff spot, because if we have a run of the 3 or 4 games that Nell spoke about that we had in October, then we could find ourselves in and around it again. But we've got to start winning some games, and we've got to start today, really.
How does this club look for a prospective manager to take over?
4 managers, what, in 2 seasons, roughly? And, you know, there's always the talk, it's a big club, and it is a big club. But it's not where it is at the moment, it's not a big club. You know, looking over their shoulder at Division 2. So, you know, perhaps we're not as big as we think we are at the moment, and perhaps it's a little bit difficult to prize the people that we're looking at. Obviously, they must have targets. They must have, you know, because I don't think Ben's sacking would have been an overnight, you know, after the Cheltenham game, oh, this is it, we've had enough. Must have been things leading up to that. He was critical, wasn't he, of it wasn't the job that he walked into in the summer. He did come out with them comments, which, you know,
wonder if that played a big part.
May not have gone down too well, but he made them. He put his case out there. So have the club been thinking about a new manager for a week or so before Ben got sacked, or did it just happen overnight? And that's why we're left in a position without a manager.
Yeah, I wonder whether Anthony's going to get a good run at it, and we'll see what happens there. Just before we move on, we weren't quite sure yesterday and even this morning if the game was going to go on, and we have to give a big round of applause to, or certainly a pat on the back, to all the ground staff and everybody else who helped as well, who were here from 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. People don't see that behind the scenes, do they?
Well, you can just see here, when we look out here, where all the snow's been pulled off. And obviously we all know where we are at the moment. It's treacherous. And once it turns to ice, it's very difficult to get off the pitch.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get off the pitch. Now, I'm looking at it at the moment, and it looks fine. Me and Nelson walk round the outside. Keepers are warming up. It's very, very firm. But it's that end that tends to cause the problem. And, not all the ice has come off there. But the players, it don't look as if anyone's complaining too much about it. And as I say, we walked round past the keepers. They didn't say too much either, did they? So it looks as if it's okay.
There it is at the moment. That's the end that Curbs was talking about, Nels.
Yeah. Well, that, not that there's been too much around today, but the sun doesn't get onto that part of the ground. I can remember playing here and knowing that same situation as well. But they've done a great job looking at those early pictures, and I presume that was a ref doing an inspection earlier on. You'd have thought, wow, I'm surprised it's on. But the forecast was favourable. It was getting warmer. It's 5 or 6 degrees out there now, so it would have thawed quite a bit. But it was a pretty heavy frost last night, certainly where I was.
Yeah. OK, a lot still to talk about, but let's crack on, shall we? I spoke to Anthony Hayes a little bit earlier. Anthony, last week's postponement means that you've had a full week, you and Piercy, to work with the lads. How beneficial has that been for you, and what have you worked on?
Yeah, I think it's, first of all, with the disappointment of last weekend's game, it gave us a chance, I think, to gather ourselves, compose ourselves after the events of last week, and like you said, give us a full training week. We haven't changed the programme in terms of a 4-day lead-in, but all I've tried to do, along with Jason's support, is to be myself and get my own messages across to the players. And hopefully today it'll be a reflection that they're clear what's been asked of them with and without the ball.
What is that message? What are you asking them to do?
Well, we have to get in behind teams. We haven't gotten behind teams enough, so first and foremost we have to try and pass forwards and run forwards more, and without the ball we have to be more solid. So there being the two main messages. I didn't want to come in and change loads and rip everything up, because I think there was a lot of good, but there were the two key messages, I suppose, from Tuesday right into yesterday. So what's the team then, and what was the thinking behind the team selection? Well, I think we have to be a threat. I'm not a coach that believes in being conservative and just playing second fiddle in the game, so I think Bristol will be a team that will try and take the game to us. I think they'll leave spaces for us to go and exploit. We've got more than enough attacking threat and options. With Jez and Corey either side, Jaden will spearhead us through the middle. But I'm going to play with 2 8s. I'm going to play with Scotty and Jack as 2 8s with Dobbo sitting in, and then we'll have a back four that will have to manage their front line, which will pose us questions. But I'm prepared. The players have been prepared in terms of how to manage being basically man for man on the last line. But we'll want to try and reduce the key spaces they want to exploit, and when they give us the spaces, we have to attack aggressively. You touched on Bristol Rovers there. After a tough start to the season, they're one of the form teams in the division, so how tough will this be? Yeah, it'll be a challenge. They're very competitive. They've got a lot of spirit in their team, and I've said it obviously earlier in the week, I wouldn't expect anything less from a team that's been led by Joey Barton. But I think it'll be unfair just to throw that at them. I think they mix their game up well, but their front line, they've got a lot of threats in Coburn, who will be a threat as a number 9. And although Collins came off during the week, I'm expecting him to play, and for me he's one of the best young players in this division. How pleased are you that the game's on, especially after what happened last week? There's been a couple of pitch inspections this morning, haven't there? Yeah, there has been, and listen, first of all, I think full credit to the ground staff. I think they've been working non-stop for the last 2 or 3 days to make sure the game gets on, and they've been throwing some curveballs with the severe weather that we've had, so great to have the game on. We're looking forward to it, and listen, 3 o'clock the talking stops, and let's hopefully our football today does the talking. 2 more. How important is it that we get a positive result today after all what's happened both on and off the pitch recently? Yeah, I think it'll give everyone a lift. Going into Christmas week, going into Brighton and Hove Albion coming here on Wednesday. I think it's really important, first of all, that we try and control our performance and our performance levels. And after that, hopefully, if we get that right, the result will look after itself. And final one, how much are you enjoying being in the hot seats?
How different is it to what you expected it to be?
Yeah, enjoyment, I'm not sure is what I'd describe it as. I think I've definitely got a few more grey hairs over the last 10 days, but listen, I know with the responsibility comes. I'm enjoying that, but you know, in terms of getting on the grass and trying to prepare a group of players, that hasn't changed. So, yeah, enjoyment not so much, but yeah, I've got some responsibilities that I want to uphold.
You better get used to it. You got years of this ahead. Good luck.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Got grey hairs already, Curbs.
Has he?
Yeah, so he's saying. Just before we quickly go to the team, I just want to quickly say all the best to Charlotte Richardson, who's on her sofa at the moment. She's probably got the virus we've all had over the last week. So Charlotte, get well soon. But in terms of the team, I mean, look, it's a change of system again. He's gone to 4-3-3. He's gone very attacking. There's 8 changes. I think it's quicker and easier to say who's stayed in the side. Sam Lavelle, Jack Payne and Sean Clare, the ones who keep their places. And great to see Miles Leaburn on the bench there as well. But in terms of that, the system and the players' Curbs, I like it. Do you?
Yeah, and I'm pleased to see Payne getting a bit of a go, because he is the one midfield player that will get in the box. And Stockley needs that support. We've been talking about it earlier. You know, when Nels played with Carlo, there was a combination there. And I think the way football's progressed at the moment, centre forwards are becoming isolated, as we saw Harry Kane, etc. And you need that player like Payne to get up and support him, and we haven't had it really.
Nelson, we've been better with 2 up front, but Chuck's, it seems, still not able to start and complete a game. Miles is not yet 100% fit, and really we got lucky on him doing so well at the start of the season. I mean, what do you think of that formation as a former forward yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the game has fundamentally changed. It was very interesting to hear what Anthony said there, because getting the ball forward quicker and trying to get in behind teams doesn't seem to have been what's been happening from the games I've seen. It's been very, you know, possession-based, particularly in deeper areas, and the actual number of chances created are few and far between. And for somebody like Jayden, you know, we know what his strengths are. Let's use the strengths and let's get all the team up the field. So I think it's attack-minded, but you know, as he correctly said, Rovers have got a couple of big threats in this division as well. So hopefully, I think it should be an attack-minded game and an entertaining game. But the most important thing for me is how tight are they going to be? How mean are they going to be?
Yeah.
It's all very well having an attacking flair and a willingness to do that, but I think at the moment you need to be making sure that you get a nil against your lane defensively.
I think he said in that interview that the back 4 are going to have to do a real man-to-man job.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to be 1 against 1. So, you know, he's obviously set the side out to be more attacking and put a lot of responsibility on that back 4.
It's interesting. It's a very attacking formation. I like it, but there's probably only Dobbo that can protect the back 4. But we have got finishers off the bench as well. I think there's goals in this game probably at either end. Let's take a look at the league table now, shall we? We'll start with the bottom half, as that is where we find ourselves. 18th after dropping 1 place last weekend. That due to obviously the Morecambe game being postponed. Fleetwood were the club to rise above us. They scored a 90th minute winner to earn all 3 points away at relegation threatened MK Dons, and MK boss Liam Manning was sacked earlier this week. And Curbs, we were 10 points clear of the relegation zone when we played last in the league. We're now only 4, but with a game in hand. I'm like you, I'm always looking up and seeing what's possible, but actually how concerned should we be in the short term where we are?
Well, that's probably the reason why Ben has gone. You know, if you're really looking at it, perhaps Thomas has thought, hold on, if I don't do something, we may slip into that bottom 4. There's only a couple of results. You know, so until we speak to Thomas and find out his reasoning, but it doesn't look good, does it? And it's a must-win game today. It's a must-win because we've been quite lucky that the teams around us haven't been picking points up, really. And if they start picking a few points up, we will drop into that without any doubt.
I think the fascinating thing for me looking at that, and this is absolutely with all due respect to the teams, but when we spoke earlier about Charlton being a massive club, and you look around those clubs around them, and you know, Charlton should be up amongst where the Derbies are, the Sheffield Wednesday are, the Ipswich are, and I said it's all due respect to those teams, but you would have them as the smaller clubs in the division.
Now, by a million miles, you're absolutely spot on. Let's have a look at the top half now, shall we? And Sheffield Wednesday, well, they would have gone second if they'd have taken maximum points at Exeter. Nearly lost, but the late equaliser meant that our opponents for today, Bristol Rovers, were able to jump into the top half of the table. And as I said at the top of the show, only Ipswich have picked up more points in the last 10 league matches than Bristol Rovers. Change at the top. Plymouth were held to a goalless draw, a struggling Cambridge. That allowed Ipswich to leapfrog them, and that was a home win over Peterborough. Crazy stat for you now, guys. Peterborough, who we face here at the Valley on Boxing Day, currently sits 6th in the playoff places. They've lost 10 of their 21 league matches so far, which is more than Morecambe, who are bottom.
Yeah.
Now, Nels, I mean, 10 losses of Peterborough this season, yet they're in the top 6. I mean, that just tells you it's all about actually winning games and trying to win games, which is, to be fair to Anthony, with that team he's picked today, that's what he's trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, you look at their goal difference as well at 9, so they're obviously a team that likes to attack, but they leak goals as well, Peterborough. But you know, it's a crazy stat. But therefore there must be 10 wins, 10 losses, and 1 draw.
Yeah,
so
it's funny when you was talking about teams being a bit more direct, and Anthony was saying that he wants to get the ball forward a bit quicker. There's 2 teams recently that have been forced into doing that. Holland in the World Cup got forced into going long, put Van Dijk up there, whatever, and suddenly got back in the game. And us against Ipswich. Yeah. We're 4-2 down with like 10 minutes to go. And that was it, just get the ball in the box. And George is in there, everyone was in there getting knockdowns. So I've seen 2 teams recently who have been forced to do it, have ended up getting results out of it.
I love that comparison, Netherlands with Charlton. Brilliant. Okay, there was supposed to be a full programme in League One this afternoon, but Cheltenham, Lincoln and Fleetwood, Cambridge were called off today. Sure. Peterborough, Shrewsbury and Port Vale, Accrington yesterday. But in form, Forest Green head to Derby. League leaders Ipswich travel to Wickham, only lost 1 of the last 6 league games. Curbs, no real sort of standout of the big boys playing each other. So I'll ask you this. With it being a final round of fixtures before Christmas, did you ever mention Christmas in your pre-game team talks? Did you ever say, look, you can have an extra day off, you know, leading up to...
No.
Ebenezer Scrooge, yeah, didn't you?
I thought it was irrelevant. I had a good bunch of lads. Didn't need to motivate them in that way. Extra day off if they win.
I do remember being mentioned on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, at Ipswich by Gritty, when we got beat 2-0. Do you remember you that game?
Probably.
You looked like you've all had too much Christmas dinner and enjoyed yourselves too much.
and we probably did. No, of course we didn't. But that's what happens, isn't it, when the games come thick and fast. OK, right, as always, let's take a quick look, break from today to provide you with some club news updates then, shall we? And we'll start off with ticketing news. Fans are reminded that half-season tickets are now on sale. Prices start at just £160 for adults. You can get yours now by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. Half-season tickets become active from our Boxing Day clash against Peterborough, meaning you get access to our final 12 home league fixtures of the season. Sticking with ticketing, and match day prices for league games at the Valley will now remain at the reduced rate for the rest of the season. The new prices, which came about through consultation with fan advisors Lucy Bishop and Lewis Katz, saw adult Zone 1 and Zone 2 prices recently reduced by £4 per ticket, and Zone 3 prices starting at £23. You can now get tickets for all of our league games up until the end of January by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk. Tickets for Wednesday's Cup clash against Brighton are also on sale, and they are priced at just £15 for adults in all areas of the Valley. And you can get tickets for that match by heading to booking.cafc.co.uk as well. Well, supporters in the UK and everyone globally are reminded that they can watch every league game live on Charlton TV from today up until and including our fixture on New Year's Day, thanks to our World Cup pass. Fans globally, including those in the UK, can purchase the Charlton TV World Cup pass, which is now priced at £40, and the price of the pass will decrease by £10 after each of the fixtures it covers is played. Head to cafc.co.uk to get yours. Now, the Charlton women's team made it 4 wins on the bounce in all competitions by edging past Sheffield United at the Oakwood 2 Sundays ago. Lauren Bruton bagged her first Addicks goal with this scrappy finish, but they all count, Nels, don't they?
Absolutely.
And they'll hope, absolutely, and they hope to continue their winning run when they face Crystal Palace in the Continental Cup on Sunday. Fans are encouraged to attend that fixture, and as it is a Continental Cup game, we will not be live streaming the game on Charlton TV. We do, though, wish Karen Hills and her side the very best of luck. Well, back to the men's team, and next month's home fixture against Bolton in Sky Bet League One will now kick off at the earlier time of 12:30 p.m. as it has been selected for live coverage by Sky Sports. Charlton TV subscribers, fear not though. Curbs, you'll be there, won't you, despite the early start? Get through the Blackwall Tunnel? We'll still be here, of course you will.
I'm away.
Are you away for that game?
No, I've just come back the couple of days before that. Yeah.
That's a shock, another holiday.
Yeah.
We will definitely providing then our usual coverage. Our last Sky game was a 3-0 win over Portsmouth, so fingers crossed we'll be celebrating another win. And finally, we were delighted to welcome Norwegian supporter Bertil Holand and his friends to the Valley recently. If you're watching, Bertil, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll definitely have to get you on Zoom for a chat very soon indeed. OK, right, the Charlton's women's side took time to visit Greenwich Food Bank during the week to help prepare some of their Christmas packages. Let's take a look.
Come down to Greenwich Food Bank just to help pack. I mean, this is usually a difficult time of the year where people struggle to get food and just get the basics, so we come down to help.
Absolutely brilliant to have the women's team here supporting us in this way. You can see they're making up packs, getting busy, they've got straight on it, fantastic, love it. It's all about packing boxes at the moment, so we've got a record number of food parcels going out at the moment. Obviously the weather is cold, people are needing support immediately, and so keeping up with the flow of distribution is really key for us. So the work that the women are doing today is really helping with that. So the food they're packing today will be going out later on this week and into next week, and will be feeding people imminently. So it's fantastic.
Inflation and just the cost of living has increased so much. I feel like this is the perfect time for those who are struggling, not to feel embarrassed, but just come down and get what you need to get, especially for this time of the year. So I advise everybody who's struggling out there to get involved.
Put it this way, when we had our first full year of operation in 2013, we distributed 35,000 meals. This year we'll be distributing 130,000 meals. The last 6 months have been our busiest ever. This cost of living crisis is like the pandemic plus. It's incredible the amount of need that we're seeing out there. And it's a privilege to be part of the solution. But you know, we're really conscious that we're just a sticking plaster. And so as well as distributing food and providing support that people need, we're really passionate about trying to find the answers of the question, how do we end all this? And how do we make the changes necessary that means that one day Greenwich Food Bank doesn't have to exist? It wasn't always like this, was it? But yeah, we are where we are. Big year, really big year.
Yeah, brilliant cause. Great to see them volunteering their time there. And look, it's important that all football clubs help out in the local community, and we are certainly one of the very best at doing that. OK, last time out in SE7, we celebrated 30 years since our return to the Valley, which started with an evening here. You two were here. Let's take a look.
We have reunions with the players and things like that just now, but these are special occasions for the supporters and things like that, so it is special, yeah, very special.
We were lucky enough that we had good players, you know, so we had a good team spirit, good camaraderie and everything going on at that time. And it just worked out that winning the game wasn't paramount, because obviously the occasion was massive, but we didn't want to lose, so a draw and a win was fantastic, so we got the win. Walsh is scoring the goals, which is we living off for the last 30 years, bless him.
Finding pitcher, and a shot, and a goal by Walsh for Charlton.
We were like a family then, and we realised how good it was for us to get back here for the supporters.
To blow the final whistle, and he's blown it, and Charlton have won it. The perfect homecoming for Charlton Athletic. A victory with that goal after 6 minutes from Colin Walsh. They hit the post as well. They had goal-mouth scrambles. They took a lot of pressure from Portsmouth. Steve Britt, the joint manager, a perfect game at right back.
You know, the people that were involved at the time. And I just made a little quick remark that perhaps none of the squad at the moment would have been born when we came back to the Valley, and so it's something that they should realise what we had to do and what everybody had to do to get us back here. And as I say, seeing so many faces, especially the board at the time, because those were the main drivers. Roger Orwin, Mike Norris, Martin Simons and Richard Murray, to name but a few, was really the driving force.
And everything that was said out there, a kind of family, community spirit, that togetherness, that drive, the whole history of the club, the back to the Valley and then building and target 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, the stadium development, the training ground development, the strategic alliance with Peter and what Peter and Steve and so many others, Sir Maurice Hatter, did to set the community programme into a charity, the community trust, and then to kick on again. And that kind of alignment, and I suppose what's really pleased me over the years is that kind of integration as a club. We've never been the community programme that's just over there. We've been, properly aligned to the club and kind of grown as the club has grown, and then at times grown bigger than the club, unfortunately, when we dropped out of the Premier League and then down the leagues. And I suppose because of the reputation that we've built and the alliances and the strategic relationships we've got, that's brought in the funding that's allowed us to be sustainable. And probably some of the proudest stuff is sort of like taking on some real challenging work, not just doing the run-of-the-mill football in the community, the knife crime stuff and, the gangs and county lines, unfortunately, and the real social issues where you need a football club. And I've said it before, football clubs have got a responsibility. Football clubs need to be outward facing, and probably Charlton does it better than anybody, and it really understands its responsibility. And my job's quite easy. I just steer the thing. I've got brilliant staff, had brilliant staff, and some of them are here tonight, that have committed a lot of time, and I suppose that's where we are. That's why we're regarded as one of the biggest and best.
No, we said it before, well done to Jason, his staff as well in terms of the trust, but just the whole club. And you're right, Curbs, it's incredible, isn't it? 30 years, most of the squad's not even born then. Yeah. But was it nice for you to reminisce?
It was, and I think Roger Orwin as well, because I think, we talk about the club and the size of the club quite rightly, but, when we came back, that was a big effort. I mean, so many people involved, but Roger Orwin, Martin Simons and Richard Murray especially, their money enabled us to get back, really, and they funded it for a couple of years as well while we settled back in here. We're playing at 3 sides and etc. So, yeah, I think it's nice to go back, but it's also nice to look to see what's been achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the night, Nelson. Any old stories that sort of cropped up you've forgotten about?
Not that I can share on TV, but no,
this time anyway.
It's always a great pleasure. I mean, to be fair to the club, and we talk about the club and the supporters' trust, but the involvement they give us ex-former players as well is to their great credit, because it's not like that with all the clubs I've played for. So, but when the lads get together, it doesn't matter how long you haven't seen them for. It's like you're still together and you have a laugh. Probably we do laugh, and that's the thing that you always. I think when you ask players what do they miss most, it's not necessarily games. It's the banter in the changing room, the laughter.
Well, I think the squad.
That's why he was so gutted he didn't come out Thursday.
Yeah. Well,
I was saying that the squad at that time, Upton Park, and then coming back here for that first year or so, was so experienced in some ways, in terms of age and games and whatever, and so young in some respects, because if you was playing well in the youth team or the reserve, you got a game. So there was a real nice mix going on, and everyone was pulling in the same direction. We was hoping to make the thing better, and and fortunately we did. But at the time when we came back here, it was the club was born again. It started again, and that's what it needed.
Absolutely. Okay, Sean Clare's fast becoming almost a bit like Stevie Brown. Versatile, though I've not seen him in goal as yet.
He wears better gear than Brownie.
I spoke to Sean a little bit earlier. Sean, good to see you. Last time I saw you in person, you were sitting alongside me up in the Charlton TV studio. Good to see you on the pitch, of course. Look, since we last played in the league, Ben Garner's left the club. What are your thoughts on his departure?
I think obviously it's not just down to him, it's down to the team. Results recently haven't been good enough. I think performances have sometimes been there, but it's about the 3 points at the end of the day, and we've been a bit soft at times. So yeah, it's never nice to see someone lose their job, but we're just focused on going out there today and doing our best and getting 3 points.
It was a very disappointing result and performance against Stockport in the FA Cup. What have the lads said between themselves about it, and what has Anthony said?
I think we just looked back at it. We looked. There were some good bits that we did, but we didn't do it enough. We allowed Stockport to kind of impose themselves on us. At times, I think when we were on top, we didn't take control of the game. Stockport are an experienced team. They were good at what they did. The problem was we allowed them to do that too often. So yeah, we've looked at that. We've looked at changing that because they play similar to a lot of teams in League One. And yeah, the aim is to go out there, put it right in the league, which is the most important.
I'd imagine it's almost like an itch you've been wanting to scratch for some time, and you couldn't, obviously, with the Morecambe game being called off. So how much are you desperate to get out there and put in a good performance, even if you don't get all 3 points today?
Yeah, I think obviously it's disappointing the result against Stockport, a game that we felt that we could win, especially after the first leg or the first game. But yeah, we're definitely ready to go. We've had a good week's training. Ant's had a good time to put in his ideas, and we're just going to go out there, give it our all, and hopefully put on a performance for the fans.
What's it been like under Anthony?
It's been all right. It's been seamless almost because he's been here. A lot of the players know him, even the young players know him as well because he used to work with them. So it's not been awkward or difficult for him. He's come in and he's been very clear on what he wants and how he wants us to play. So it's down to us to go out there and implement it, and hopefully that gets us the win.
Final question. It's quite cold out there. We didn't know that if the game was going to be on or off.
Yeah.
What is Sean Clare like in these type of conditions?
I'm okay. I think the pitch, as long as the pitch is all right, once you get going, you're not too bad. It seems to have warmed up a little bit today rather than earlier in the week. So no, I think we're all looking forward to going out there and running about and getting warm.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It's actually warmer for the players than it is for the fans, isn't it?
Yeah,
because you can run around and get the body heat up. But Curbs, look, we've spoken a lot about Sean's versatility on Charlton TV. Under Nigel was a centre midfielder. Under Jacko is a right-sided centre-back. Under Benny was a right-back. Today he's a right-back as well. But how important are these type of players in the side?
Absolutely. As a manager, you like to have two of them sort of players around you that can play in different positions and during the game as well, which is the good thing. If you want to change, got a facility to go free at the back if they wanted, because we know he can play as a centre-back. He's an attacking right-back. I think the essence is on that back four today. The way Anthony was talking about the way he wants to play the game, I think he's putting a lot of emphasis on that back four to deal with Bristol Rovers' threat, and Sean's going to be one of them.
How difficult, Nels, is it for players, with versatile or not, when a new manager's coming in on a regular basis? And also just for Sean himself, he was captain in the last game. Not today, obviously Jayden's back, but that's a nice sign as well, isn't it, that a new guy come in has made you captain?
Yeah, definitely. I was very impressed by him, and I thought he was probably our standout player in the last game against Charlton. I thought he had a really, really strong game. He looks more comfortable to me in those sort of deeper line positions than he did in the middle of midfield. But, you know, as Curbs has said, when you got a player that you can rely on, that's the thing that you most want. You want that 7 out of 10 every week, you know, and he can do that, Sean. So, like with anything, if a manager says, I want to make you captain or I want to play you here because I really trust you in that, that's a big fillip.
Absolutely. And from the player's point of view, if things are going to be changed, you can play in a number of positions, then you're less likely to be taken off, which is always a good thing. Let's have a look at the horror show of Stockport, shall we? And then hopefully we can put it to bed and we won't have that type of performance again. That was, of course, in the FA Cup. And it's difficult to dress it up as anything other than a very tough watch. Curbs, what did you think of the performance, and how important is it we react today?
Well, I know it was a cup game, so you can perhaps say, you know, it's not as important, but there was an opportunity to win it and get a good draw and bring some money into the club. I think it would have been. Is it home to Port Vale the next leg? Or
I think it was Walsall, wasn't it?
Yeah, Walsall.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was looking at the game thinking, had to start Chucks. He's got to start a game. But it just sums up where we're at the moment. We go into a lead and then can't handle it, can't handle the pressure, and in the end got well beat.
Yeah. Given that last weekend's game was called off, and you know Anthony and Piercy have had what 10 days now to work with the lads, what would you have worked on?
You know, I would like to think that he's had a bit of time because of the Morecambe game getting called off. He picked his team on Monday, and everybody knew it. And that's it. That's the team.
Do you think that's important?
Yeah. And work all week, not just on yourselves, which is the most important thing, but on Bristol Rovers because we know they're having a good time at the moment. But let the players know who's playing really early, and you know, so you're in the team, you're in the team. You're not in the team, what are you going to do about it? And I think that the way he's set. So he's been looking from the outside. He's been hearing the discussions between Ben and his staff and whatever, and probably thinking, no, I didn't see it that way. Where I've been sitting, perhaps upstairs, I'm not seeing it exactly that way. And I think we could be better doing this and better doing that. So that's why I'm interested in this team selection.
Yeah. Nels, when you were playing, what conversations would you have had in the dressing room after losing to lower league opposition? No one wants it. It was on the box. So the broadcasters were thinking there was a possible chance of it happening, but the performance was as bad as the result.
Yeah, it's a confidence thing, isn't it? I mean, it's as Curb said. I mean, the draw in itself is a big carrot because you're looking at that fixture and think, well, if I go around to the fourth round, we're going to get a really good draw in the fifth round. But lots of changes. There were a couple of youngsters playing in that side, probably not being in a big cup tie where, you know, the atmosphere up at Stockport looked very, very good from the Stockport side of things. So I think I can completely agree with Al. For me as a player, with the changes that have gone on, I wouldn't like all that uncertainty all week about am I in the team, am I not in the team. I want to know what he wants from me and what job. And you get a very early impression from the manager whether he actually really fancies you or not as well. So I think all of those signs, you know, as long as he's clear in his communication and says this is the team we're going to pick, these are the reasons why, you guys are going to be involved and you're going to be important because it's a squad game now more than ever. You've got a lot more selections than you had, Al, in terms of what you could put on a bench.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope he's had a good week. Looking at that side, he wants to go for it. And to me, as I said already, from what I've seen under Ben, a lot of good, nice passing around the pitch, but it was the number of chances they were getting, the number of time the balls actually went into the box and created chances. To me, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, soft underbelly. Let's remind ourselves of the 11 guys he does fancy today, but also the opposition as well. 8 changes, don't forget. Only just 3 remain from that Stockport game. And in terms of Bristol Rovers as well, I mean, Scott Sinclair, he's playing out on the right. Aaron Collins is one of the best players in League One. They have some very good players and they're in a very good run of form now. So how do you, which, let's be fair, it was never going to be a full house today, sort of get yourself up for this game and make sure you come away with 3 points when things are so difficult at the moment?
Well, I think the first thing to say is the tempo's got to be absolutely right. If you're going to get on the back foot early doors, they've got people in the team that can hurt you. And to be fair, the game against Charlton, they could have been out of sight by half-time. They had 2 or 3 really good chances, and that was because the game started so slowly. But Collins has got 11 goals, so he's clear that he's got a threat. Yeah. Scott Sinclair, everyone kind of knows what Scott Sinclair's about. So for me, it's about really dictating the game to Bristol Rovers. And really getting into them and showing a different kind of approach, perhaps.
I think the other interesting thing is the pitch. You know, we're looking at it and thinking, well, it don't look too bad, but, you know, whoever adapts themselves to this pitch may be the team that comes out on top.
Do you change your tactics? You know, you might have worked on something all week and actually suddenly you look at the pitch and you say, actually, do you know what? We can't do that today.
I think it would have been difficult for everyone to train this week anyway because of the conditions. But yeah, you know, perhaps it ain't a day for passing the ball back to the goalkeeper and expecting him to have a really good touch and play it into midfield. You know, perhaps it's a game for percentages, and you know, you're playing on a slippery surface. Play the way you're facing. Yeah. You know, do the simple things and get the ball in the box.
I have to say, you know, Anthony could have gone 1 or 2 ways. Obviously, try and make yourself very difficult to beat and concede a goal, or go on the front foot. And looking at the team, he's very much gone on the front foot with Payne and Fraser, who neither of them are sort of proper central midfielders in the true sense of the word. Then you got Corey and Jez either side of Jayden. This could be a really exciting game, this, couldn't it?
We said earlier, me and Nelson, when we was talking about it, it's a free hit for him. And, I'm not being disrespectful here, but, a result is going to be a real bonus.
Do you think he's trying to almost make a statement, whatever happens to the result, look, this is what I'm about, I'm very much an attacking manager?
Yeah, because I think when you're managing the under-23s or the under-18s or whatever, it's not all about results, is it? It's about producing players. But now he's got to get a result, and his philosophy, if you like, is this is the way I want to play. Is this the way the youth teams have been playing? I don't know, but this is how I see it. I'm bringing Payne in because I know he can do this, and I'm going to give the back four real responsibility today to deal with Bristol Rovers.
And to have Chucks and Miles on the bench, I think that's so important. The finishers that we've talked about, Curbs, but Nelson, that's very important, isn't it, to have those options?
Well, all of a sudden having the options on the bench, I think the criticism that's come around really about their buying in the summer was they didn't have enough strike force. Yes. But thankfully, Miles has come from nowhere and done a really good job and proved that he can play at this level. That's always the option. But to me, as Alan said, you always have to play the circumstances that you find yourself in. If the pitch isn't true, you've just got to be risk averse, I think. OK, tough times on and off the pitch at the moment. Let's get ourselves away from the relegation zone, shall we? Time to hand over to our commentary team, Terry Smith, Greg Stubley and Stevie Brown.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Curbs. Thank you, Nelson. See Nelson in the studio again alongside me. Stevie Brown has